That said, I'm not a SQL expert, as I like to tell people. I probably know enough SQL to be, I probably fall into the category of knows enough SQL to be dangerous. There is my LinkedIn. I am okay with all of you connecting with me on LinkedIn. However, I do have one request. If you do so, please also include a message telling me who you are and how we met. If you say that you met me here at Day of the Geek Saturday, that's fine. I am okay with that. So a little bit about my background here. I currently work as a technical writer, but I do have a background in IT. I am a former application developer, a former web developer. I do have experience in SQL Server. I switched to a full-time technical writer role because I came to the realization that I developed documentation better than I developed code. I won't get into that right now. I might touch on it during my presentation, but you can ask me again later in the networking room. Like I said, I've been speaking SQL Saturday, 2015, not 2014. I've spoken at Pass Summit twice. Despite all that, none of my presentations have anything to do with SQL Server. They are all professional development. As I like to describe myself, I'm the professor at MIT who teaches English Lit. I am located just outside of Albany, New York. I'm a member and a co-founder of the local SQL user group called CASUG, and those are some of the other organizations. I won't read them right now. I'll let you just read this for yourself. Stuff I do outside of my job and outside of speaking. I'm a musician. I play several instruments. One thing I did not mention that I've gotten back into songwriting lately, so I've been working on that as well. Huge sports fan. I can talk to you for hours on end about baseball. I have been known to schedule vacations around Major League Baseball schedules. And one thing that, if you get to know me better, one thing you will learn to me is that I proudly bleed Syracuse orange. Syracuse is my undergraduate alma mater. And if anybody who went to SU, huge fans. But anyway, enough about me. Let's talk about the presentation. Again, this is not technology specific. I don't talk about SQL Server or applications or whatever. Most of this is based on my own personal experience. Just because I'm presenting this doesn't necessarily mean that I'm right. I mean, this is what's worked for me in the past. It may or may not work for you. I mean, I'm hoping you're going to get something out of this. I personally don't like to lecture. I've taught part-time before, and my preference is to gather my students into a circle where we have a discussion. I act as a facilitator. That's my preferred MO. That said, that's kind of hard to do here on a virtual forum. So I'm probably going to end up speaking at you. But if you have questions, please, by all means, feel free to ask. I see that one of the questions that was asked was, can I unmute myself to ask questions? Elvis, you're the moderator, so I will leave that up to you. I do have the chat open here, so I am monitoring that as I go along. Also, if you want to speak up, feel free to raise your hand. I believe there's a hand raise function on here. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah, raise your hand and indicate you want to ask a question, and we'll go from there. So, okay, so here's what we're going to talk about. We'll start out by short discussion about networking. What exactly is it? Why is it important? Where you can go network? How you network? We're actually going to do a little exercise in networking. I will admit that this exercise tends to work a lot better when I do this presentation live and in person. But that said, I have done this presentation virtually a couple times, and I have managed to make it work. So we'll cross that bridge when we get to that. We will have a discussion about online networking. Earlier this morning, I sat in on the session about LinkedIn, and that turned out to be a great session. It was actually more of a discussion, but I thought it went rather well. A few of you may have been on that earlier today, but we'll talk about online networking a bit more. So things to remember as we talk about this thing, I'm going to focus primarily on professional networking. Social networking can be important too. As a matter of fact, it's actually applicable to professional networking, and I do touch on that as well. But I am going to focus on the professional. If I don't, this presentation will probably take a lot longer than an hour. There is an art to networking. There's no right or wrong way. Well, maybe that's not entirely true, but there are a lot of different ways to network. Like I said, what you're going to see in this presentation is what has worked for me and what I think will work for other people. Many ways, there are a lot of different ways to network. One thing to emphasize is that when you do network, one of the things you need to realize is you got to be patient. I mean, the fact that you're all here, you're already networking because you're here. But and that's great, and you're building a network. But keep in mind that over the long term, and if you want to build a network that's really effective, this is not going to happen overnight. It could take days, weeks, months. I mean, I've been building my network for years, so it's taken quite a bit of time, and I've built up a pretty good network, I think. It's going to require some effort, and it might require you stepping out of your comfort zone. If you're introverted, I apologize for breaking that news to you. However, that said, even if you are introverted, we're gonna discuss that a little bit. You can still network. There are ways to get to that. So, okay. Before we get started, any questions so far? Anybody? All right. So let's get going. Let's start off with talking about networking. Sorry, networking. What is it? So to start out, I was curious to see what the dictionary said what networking was, and this is what I found. I'm not going to read this all off to you. You can take a look at it for myself. Oh, by the way, that reminds me. These slides are available online. They are available from my blog. When I get to the end of the presentation, I will tell you how to get to them and how to download these slides. So, in my mind, networking is about relationships. It's mutually beneficial, a two-way street. I don't want to go as far to say as like, yeah, you rub my back, I'll rub yours, but basically, when you're networking with somebody else, it's something that somebody else can help you, and you might be able to help somebody else. Now, of course, the stronger that relationship is, the stronger the network is. Now, that said, just because it's a strong relationship, you don't necessarily have to be friends with people to be a network. I mean, being acquainted is okay. I mean, heck, for that matter, I've got people, that aren't necessarily my favorite people, but you want to know something? I'm okay. I have a relationship. I am okay with being connected to them. Even if I don't have the best relationship with them, you know what? I have a relationship, and if they ask me for a favor, I guess I'll be happy to oblige. I mean, a lot of people I network with, they're acquaintances. I mean, I probably wouldn't know who they are if I bumped into them on the street, but that's okay. Don't have to be friends. I mean, just have a relationship. That's okay. Just because you're connected doesn't necessarily mean you have a network. In my mind, again, this is my opinion, you have to have a relationship to be networked. I have an example of that I'm going to talk about later on in this presentation, so I will talk about that a little more when I get to that. All right, so why exactly is networking important? This day and age, I think it's absolutely critical. Let's start with a job hunt. I came across an article from 2016. Okay, it's about 5 years ago by now, but and I don't know if 85% is still accurate, but I think the point is still made. The concept behind it, I think, is still accurate. You need, if you're looking for a job, your best bet is to network. It's who you know, what connections you have. I'll give you a little secret. Not my current job, but the job before. The way I got that job, I was through a Facebook friend. A friend of mine on Facebook said, "Hey, I may have something for you, and let's talk." We did, and sure enough, he ended up giving me the job. Developing professional relationships. Mark was talking earlier about being a leader. Networking will go a long way in helping you become that leader by developing these relationships. I mean, career advancement. You may have heard of something called the hive mind. Networking, I mean, if you, let's say you have some kind of problem and you are looking for an answer to that problem, chances are somebody out there may know the answer to it. So, I mean, more often than not, I'll post to my Facebook, it's like, hey, hive mind, like, you have the answer to this. Increase exposure. The more people you know, the more people know about you and what you're capable of and what you can do. So if you're trying to get ahead, become a leader, trying to find a new job, whatever, and increase exposure is always a good thing. Nice added bonus. You make new friends. I've been doing the Sequels Saturday speaker thing for about 5-6 years now, and I've made a lot of friends through my dealings with Sequel Saturday. Excuse me. There's a hashtag Sequel Family, and Sequel Family is a real thing. Some of my best friends have come out of Sequel Family and out of my networking with all this. All right. How are we doing? Questions so far? I know I haven't gotten too much into it yet, but figured I'd ask. All right. Feel free to post in the chat if you have any questions, or raise your hand, whatever. All right, let's talk about where to network. Let's start out with the obvious examples. Let me start by saying that if you are here right now, hearing me talk, guess what? You guys are already networking. The fact that you are here is a great sign and a great place for you to go network. But let's talk about that a little more here. I think the most obvious and maybe overlooked place is your own workplace. A lot of my networking contacts are my former colleagues who I've worked with before. A lot of these people, I'm still great friends with them. Anytime somebody drops me a line, email, gives me a call, says, "Hey Ray, I'm in town. Let's hook up for a drink." I'll be happy to do so. So workplace, I think, is a great example. And let me just respond real quick to a comment I see in the chat. Authenticity is a key to online networking. Yes, I agree 100%. As a matter of fact, getting ahead of me a little bit because I actually touch on that later on. I'll talk about it a little bit when I get to that point. Your local user group, just curious. I mean, how many of you are members of a local user group? And I realize this is Data Geek Saturday. And I mean, I myself am a co-founder of a SQL user group in Albany. If you're interested in data subjects, I mean, look for a data user group. It doesn't have to be a data user group. It could be anything you're interested in. Like I said, I'm a musician. I'm a member of several music groups in the area. That's a great place to go network. Let's talk about conferences. You're at one now. Data Geek Saturday, great place to go. SQL Data Saturday, also great. I believe there's the Past Community Summit coming up in November. It's free this year. Go check that out. Matt Cushing, who is another friend of mine, gives a great presentation on how to get ready for a SQL event. He also called it Networking 101. So great presentation. I highly recommend it. If you happen to come across it, go check it out. Business meetings, mixers, events, whatever. Bottom line, look. I mean, any groups, meetings that capture your interest, that you're interested in, go check it out. Great place to go meet people. Great place to go find people with common interests. Let's talk about some not so obvious examples. How many folks have kids? Kids that you take to the various events. I mean, maybe they'll play Little League or they play soccer, cheerleading. I was a musician. Band was my thing. I was a member of the marching band in high school and in college. Stuff like that. Chances are you're going to go to these events. You're going to meet other parents and other people. Your own activities. Like I said, music's my big thing. I know a lot of people through the bands I play in. And I've met a lot of people through all these other interscoops that I'm involved with. Alumni functions. How many of you went to college, and do they hold alumni events? Go check those out. Syracuse is this huge following in terms of alumni and sporting events. So alumni functions at my alma mater are a big thing. One of the things I do on the side, I do CrossFit. So I've met a lot of people through my gym. So definitely go check that out. I'm laughing at a comment I just saw. Can I skip the high school reunions? That's up to you. Parties, cookouts, social events, random meetings, people you bump into. Bottom line, anytime you interact with someone, guess what? That's a networking opportunity. It's, again, all about relationships. All right. How are we doing so far here? Yep, excuse me. I'm reading through some of the comments up here. I'll tell you what. I'm not going to read through all of these, but all the ones I've seen. I mean, that they're all true. None of them are wrong. None of them are right. I mean, it depends on who you are. It depends on your situation. As I said before, there are lots of different ways to network. There's no one particular wrong or right way. It's whatever works for you. We're all different. We all have different personalities, and we're all going to network in different ways. But that said, let's talk a little bit about how to network. I mentioned before that social networking is very helpful. If you are good socially, if you're not good socially, don't worry about it. I will get to you in a minute. But let's start with if you're good socially, you're already a step ahead, because if you're a likable person, guess what? You're approachable. People will come talk to you. You're likely to be remembered for all the right reasons. Like, hey, this person was great to talk to. I think this person can really help us out. That, and the other thing. I won't get into all the way right now. If you're not likable, people are going to stay away from you. You'll be avoided by like the plague, and that's not a good thing. Be wary of your body language. I will confess, I often sit like this with my arms folded, which is really not, very good body language. I will confess to doing it often, though. Sometimes I'm not even aware of it. That's something I need to be more aware of. You don't want to be, sitting here like this, or checking your watch. What time is it? Is this over yet? Stuff like that. You really ought to try to avoid. Okay, so those are the people who are good at good socially. How about those of you who aren't so good? Those of you who are introverted, who are shy, socially. I got good news for you. You're not alone. As a matter of fact, I'll be honest with you. I myself, at one point, was one of them. I mean, I speak about these things. A lot of my friends think I'm extroverted, I'm outspoken, easy to talk to. Let me give you a hint. There was once a time where I was at the exact opposite. And even to this day, I can still be introverted. Case in point, let's say I attend a party where I know absolutely nobody. I will confess that I can very easily be the person who's off in the corner all by himself, not talking to anybody. That could be me. Again, we'll talk a little more about that. But first, let me break to you the bad news. You're going to need to make some kind of effort. I wish there was a way around this. There really isn't. You're going to need to do something about that. But we'll talk about it a little more here. Stepping out of your comfort zone. They say the way you really need to get ahead, and Mark, when I caught your presentation, I think you mentioned something about this as well, was that you need to do something every day that scares you. You need to be able to step out and stretch out a little bit. Do something every day that'll make you feel a little bit uncomfortable. One of the things that we talked about in my CrossFit gym was if you want to get better, you got to make yourself uncomfortable. As a matter of fact, I wrote an entire blog article about stepping out of your comfort zone. I'll have to take a look at it later on, see where it is. Look for ways to break the ice, and we're going to get into more of that a little bit. I've got a few slides dedicated to that, so we'll talk about that a little bit. practice and prepare. There's absolutely nothing wrong with practicing to be social. The joke I like to use is, episodes of Happy Days where you'll see the kid, pretending to kiss his pretending girlfriend. If nobody's around, who's gonna know? You're practicing. So what? That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. No, most people won't judge. I'm certainly not going to judge. If you don't feel comfortable going to an event, bring a friend. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, a little moral support's not a bad thing. Hey, I'm going to such and such a party. I don't want to go along. You want to come with me? That's okay. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Okay, so there's three overall basic steps when you're trying to network with somebody. Step number one is initiating contact, breaking the ice, which is probably the hardest part about networking. And again, we're going to talk about this a little more in depth in a moment. I think might even be the next slide, as a matter of fact. First impressions do tend to be important. There's a reason why you dress up for interviews. It depends on the situation, though. Thomas Grosser, who was active on the SQL Speaker Service circuit and is also a good friend of mine, talks about he's only worn a suit and tie twice, a tie twice in his life. So it depends on the situation again. Once you've broken up the ice, then you continue the conversation. And again, we'll talk about this a little bit more in a little bit. Make the other person feel comfortable, valued. And somebody mentioned being genuine. That's something that we can't emphasize enough. You don't want to be fake. You don't want to BS yourself. You don't want to be somebody who's not. Make sure you are genuine, and that includes when you are online. And I'll talk about that a little more in a little bit. Close a conversation. It's okay. You've broken the ice. You've talked to someone, but you also want to make sure you make arrangements to keep the conversation going, even when you're not conversing. That's something else we're going to talk about a little bit later on. So, okay. I see Kellen making some good comments on there. Hi, Kellen. How you doing? I think I last saw you. Was it past time when I last saw you? I don't remember, but anyway, I digress. Yeah. Again, I'm laughing at the comments I see here. So, any questions so far? Any questions or comments? I see a lot of good comments coming across the chat here. So, if I don't get to your comment or question, I apologize. If I miss it completely, if it's something you're dying to know, please either feel free to ask it again, or if you miss it during this presentation, like I said, I will be in the networking room later on, so you can hit me up in there. But let's talk about breaking the ice. Probably the hardest thing to do when you want to initiate contact for networking. So here are a few ways, and if you're introverted, hopefully this is something that'll help you out. One of the very simplest things you do, just hello. Simple, right? Very easy to do. Just say hi. You say hi to someone, guess what? You just broke the ice. Congratulations. My name is, mention your name as someone, just go up to someone and speak your names. Hi, Ray Kim. How you doing? There's a way to speak to break the ice. Digital ice break. Huge issue for me. That's okay. Well, we'll talk about that for a little more. Make a compliment. It's like, hey, nice dress you were wearing. It's like, I like that shirt. Make a compliment. Again, make it genuine. You always want to be genuine. Don't suck up. Don't act like a jerk. I'll talk about that a little more in a little bit. Ask questions. And talk about your current event or situation. Once you leave this room, maybe you'll see somebody in, the virtual hallway in this case, and say, hey, what'd you think of that presentation? There you go. Or, something about, it's like, wow, it's really hot out here. That's well, okay, that's more a statement than the question, but hopefully you'll get the idea there. Make some neutral small talk. And the key word here is neutral, something that a lot of people will be willing to talk about. Example here, I'm a big sports fan. Like I said earlier, I can talk your ears off for hours about baseball, and I am devout fan of my alma mater, which is a major Division I institution. So sports, not okay. Granted, not everybody's into sports, but in general, sports is one of the most universally beloved topics that people tend to talk about. Again, that's just an example. Not everybody's into sports. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. So those are some ways to break the ice. Are there any wrong ways to break the ice? I think there are, and here are some examples in my mind. Never, ever, ever, ever start a conversation talking about politics or religion. Number one, those are hot button topics. Number two, the person you talk to may not see things the same way and may actually be turned off by what you say. That goes back to don't be a jerk or don't drive people away. I personally hate talking about politics passionately. Will not discuss it. If somebody starts bringing up politics with me, I will do my best to change the subject. Religion, I'm a little better with religion. I consider myself an agnostic. I mean, it's like I'm not a Christian, but I'm not a non-believer either. I'm somewhere in between, and that's actually something I'm comfortable with. I won't go down that rabbit hole right now, but it's still a hot topic, and those are topics I wouldn't start with. Anything socially unacceptable. I mean, these days you got Black Lives Matter. You have there's women in technology. I believe there's a forum for women to get ahead right after this one. Go check that out. If you, I mean, these days anything that goes about any of those is not something you want to start off with. So again, that's something that could potentially drive people away. Folks, save the cheesy pickup lines for the dive bars, please. When we are trying to network professionally, we are not looking to pick up members of the opposite sex or the same sex if that's what you're into, but let's keep it professional. Obviously, you don't want to, hopefully, obviously, you don't want to talk about anything personal. It might be a sensitive topic, something the other person doesn't feel comfortable with. Part of the thing about this, you want to make other people feel comfortable. Again, be genuine. Don't brown nose. Don't suck up. Don't kiss up. You want to try to be super boring or overwhelming. I have a really good friend of mine that when he meets somebody for the first time, and I've seen him do this, will go off on a tangent. And sometimes I need to rein him back. Say, look, dude, stop. I mean, that's great and all, but you don't want to get to the point where the person you're talking to is, doing this, checking his watch. It's like, okay, are you done yet here? So try not to overwhelm anybody when you're first breaking the ice. Once you've broken the ice and you get in a conversation, okay, that's fine, but don't start out with that. Sales pitches. Probably the only exception to that is if you are at a sales conference or if you're talking to a vendor. That's understandable. But if you're trying to start general conversation or trying to, hook up with somebody, and I say hook up, I mean professionally, try to avoid the sales pitches. Maybe a sales pitch might be relevant, but personally, I would try to avoid that if at all possible. Some other ways to encourage conversation. Let's start out with what you wear. I mean, I'm bringing up the picture here of my my introduction slide. What you're wearing can be a conversation piece. In this picture right here, I'm wearing 3 articles of clothing, each of which can, in and of itself, start a conversation. Wearing a baseball jersey, it's like, hey, it's like, how'd the Yankees do last night? I was actually at I was out getting my car repaired. Repaired. It was normal maintenance, and I was wearing a Yankee cap, and somebody came up to me. It's like, "Did you see the score last night?" Hey, conversation starter. Yeah, I'm wearing in this picture shirt of my alma mater, and I'm wearing a hat with my fraternity on it. So all of these will start conversations. Talk about your current situation event. Like I said, it's like you leave the room. You say, "Hey, what'd you think of this presentation?" Kellen, I got to stop reading your content, your comments, because I'm finding the urge to not laugh. Anyway, contribute to conversation. I'm a huge baseball fan. When I hear people talk about baseball, immediately my ears perk up. Sometimes I'll go, and it's like, "Hey, it's like, I saw that game, and this is what I thought." Blah 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 blah. Let's go back to the introverts thing for a minute. Let's say you see somebody who could use a little help in breaking the ice. You know what? Maybe you're the person who helped that out. You see somebody off in the corner all by themselves. You know what? Go up to them and say hi. Introduce yourself. See if you can help pull them out, bring them out of their shell. You know what? Maybe they'll open up to you. Easiest thing to do. Smile. You smile at someone, that's breaking the ice. Okay. How are we doing so far? Any questions here? I'll pause for a moment. I'll review these. Okay, data management architecture is not as popular as sports. Yeah, true that. But you want to know something? If you're here at an event that is related to that, Data Geeks Saturday, SQL Saturday, then I think it's actually very appropriate to start that conversation off that way. Yes, it is tough, but if you're attending some kind of function where everybody has similar interests, chances are they're going to be there for the same reason you are. Yeah, know your audience, huge deal. That's a great point. All right, so moving along, I only have an hour here, so I'm trying not to tarry on some of this stuff here. So these are two actual LinkedIn requests that I received. As a matter of fact, the funny thing is I actually got these requests on the same weekend from two different people. So let's look at the first one here. I got this LinkedIn request. I'm looking to build my network. I'm not going to read it out. I'll let you all read it yourself. But my question to you, and you can respond on the chat if you want, is how would you react if you saw this email? Let's see what kind of responses I get here. Feel free to respond in the chat. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Some people say a couple people say they would respond yes. I'll tell you how I responded to this. I said at the very beginning that in my mind, networking is about relationships. Okay, seems like an ad. That was my opinion as well. I did not accept this. Basically, here's what my reaction was to this email. I really thought that this person was full of it, and here's why. In my mind, this is an example of how not to break the ice. I felt like this response was canned. I felt like this person was sucking up, condescending, and insincere. I said, this person did not make me feel valued. I couldn't delete this fast enough. I mean, the only reason why I held on to it is because it makes a great example for this presentation. Again, this is me looking at Kellen's comment here. You have to give people the benefit of the doubt. Not everybody's skilled connect. Okay, you know what? That's you. If I'm not telling you to not accept this. I mean, if you want to accept it, that's up to you. If anything, what I would do is I would take this as if you want to connect with someone else and want to break the ice, I wouldn't start off with a statement like this. So let's go to another example. Again, same weekend, I got this message. And by the way, I will mention that I got both these requests right after speaking at a Sequel Saturday. So this person sent me this response after she attended my talk. And I thought this is great. And here's why. First of all, it was complimentary. I mean, she made me feel valued. It's like, wow, okay. And it's like, you liked what I had to say. She made me feel like I wanted to talk to her. Making someone feel valued is a big deal. Again, if someone likes you, they are going to engage with you. She mentioned something specific. Case in point, she mentioned something called the Tide Challenge. I'm not going to tell you what that is. If you want to know what it is, you're going to have to come see another one of my talks. Too bad. And she said, it's like, I want to pick your brain later on. She wants to continue the conversation. I thought this message that she sent me was awesome. I was absolutely happy to connect with this person. I'm still connected to her to this day. So in my mind, if you want to connect with someone, this is how you do it. That was an awesome message. I was very happy to get this. Okay, so moving right along. Let's do a little bit of a networking exercise here. I promise I like interactive presentations, and this actually works better than a live presentation. But for the purposes of a virtual one, here's what I'm going to do. Can I get a couple of volunteers here? Maybe just 2, maybe even 3 people. Tell you what, if you are interested in participating, go ahead and raise your hand. And Elvis, if you're there, can you monitor this for me?
Most definitely.
Yeah, a couple of volunteers. Anybody? I can't see here. Has anybody raised their hand? Okay, there's one. Anybody else? I need at least one more. Anybody? One more. Okay, I got a couple here. So Elvis, if you can do me a favor, those people who just raised their hand, can you unmute them, please?
They're all unmuted now.
Okay. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a few minutes. What time is it here? I just want to keep track of time. We're gonna take about 5 minutes or so. So here's what I want you guys to do. We're gonna do a little networking exercise. I want you guys to basically, you guys are gonna network. Introduce yourselves to each other. I don't know if you guys know each other or not. I'm assuming right now that you don't. If hopefully you don't. If you do know each other, it kind of defeats the purpose of this exercise. Look for ways to break the ice. Here are some ideas. Again, I'll let you read this. Business cards, obviously, I mean, kind of hard to do over a virtual situation. I guess the virtual version of this would be trading LinkedIn addresses. So anyway, that's your assignment. For those of you that just got unmuted, I'll hand it over to you. Go for it. Take it away.
I was going to say I probably get to go first because I unmuted myself. We are still muted.
Yep, go for it.
Technology.
Yep,
my name is Kellen Gorman. I am an Oracle SME in Azure, which, yes, we do exist. And I live in Portland, Oregon, on a floating home on the Columbia River.
Yeah.
Hi, it's nice to meet you, Kellen. My name is Jason Wilkes. I live in Stuart, Florida. I'm a Microsoft SQL Server database developer. I've got about 15 years of prior experience with mostly reporting and ETL, but I've been out of the game for about 10 years. I'm starting to get back into it. Recently completed the recently retired MCSE, and just really looking forward to getting back into tech and learning all the new things.
Yeah. Keep talking, guys. I'll give you a few more minutes here.
Yeah, so like I said, I live on the East Coast. I've been trying to connect with some people here in the South Florida user groups. That's kind of how I ran into this SQL Saturday event. Cal and I used to work for Oracle back about 10, 15 years ago.
We're sorry. No, just kidding.
I
did
it was
too.
tough.
I did too.
It was the on-demand project. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I
don't
am.
know. Yeah, it was right at the beginning. It was really, really tough. Lot of long days.
It is there. My products for the AWR warehouse and the Oracle Enterprise Manager, I did a lot of automation. When I got here at Microsoft, I've always been multi-platform. You know, my first database was actually SQL Server 7. I've had 25 years with Oracle and SQL Server. But as soon as I got here, about 4 months in, found out that they needed my Oracle expertise more than my SQL Server. There's plenty of people who know that. You know, they're quite brilliant in that area. So now I'm leading up the Oracle pilot for Azure, and they keep me quite busy. I migrate a lot of Exadatas into Azure. So it's kind of the fun stuff I do.
Okay.
And I noticed
So
that—
you're on the West Coast.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, Osvaldo, I know, was part of this, but still unmute if you're not aware. It's way up there, that microphone hiding. If you're using the app, I know the web app can be a pain. If you're trying to unmute, somebody may need to unmute Osvaldo for them. I do live on the West Coast. You know, they've not been able to talk me into moving into Seattle because I hate the traffic there. And I love the airport here. And plus, I live in a floating home in Portland. You can't get much better than that.
Sounds great.
Hey, Callan, was it you that said you did the RV thing a while back? I forget. Last time I talked to you, I think you mentioned that.
Yep. I lived in an RV for 2.5 years. It's the way to make sure your kids can never come back. So we put the last kid into college. We have 5 kids between my husband and I. And my husband is also my teammate. He's on my team at Microsoft. After I'd been doing this for about a year, they came to me and said, "Do you know anybody else with your skills?" And I said, "I'm married to him." And they interviewed him and loved him. So him and I are Team Gorman. And we joke about, if you talk about HA and Azure right now, about 80% of their Oracle expertise is in one floating home in Portland. So if it floods here, we may have a small problem. Yeah, but it's the sea. We love it.
You'll be living on the street, literally.
Yeah, we're hoping we'll just float down river. We may hit I-5, but we're hoping to kind of go under it. So it's all right.
Boy.
Yeah.
All right. Great, guys. Just for time purposes, I'm going to cut this off. Believe me, if we had more time, I'd keep going. But guys, thank you very much. Thank you very much for participating. And if you didn't participate, or if you want to continue the conversation, like I said, there is a networking room that opens at 1:15. I do plan on being over there later, so at 1:15, feel free to go over there and you can practice what we just talked about. And you guys will be able to participate as well. Like I said, this works a lot better live and in person when everybody gets to participate. But so respond on the chat. It's like now that you've heard that or experienced that, what do you guys think? Any thoughts about that little session, about how you managed to hook up, or your impressions of how that little session went? Okay, I see people networking on there. This is awesome. People are talking here, and then that tells me I'm doing my job. So that's great. I'm enjoying that. Okay, clear focus. Great comment. Great comments. All right. Okay. Hate cutting people off here, but I am going to keep moving just for the interest of getting this in within an hour. Well, I guess launch is next. So I guess if I go a little over, I guess it's okay. Previous experience is impressive. Yeah, no, that's great. All right. So a few things to keep in mind here. Exchange contact information. If you don't have business cards, get them. Business cards, I think, are still relevant, and they are a great way to keep the conversation going and maintaining comments. As a matter of fact, I'm going to take just a moment to switch over to my camera here. I'm assuming you guys can all see me now. And I'm going to show you a business card that I made up. I'll hold this up to the camera so that you can all see this. Basically what this is, the idea is that I came up with this idea one day of business cards, baseball cards. I put two and two together, and I came up with these things. The picture that you see here was a souvenir photo that I had taken in Cooperstown. You know, they dress you up in your favorite team. They'll put you in front of a stadium background. They take your picture. So I have this thing, baseball card. You flip it over. There's all my contact information on there, and I'm looking at my own video here. It keeps blurring. I'll try not to do that. But, and of course, you want to know something? What's a baseball card without statistics? So you open this thing up. You'll take a look in here, and what I have in here, and it keeps blurring for me. I apologize, but we may or may not be able to see my major league batting record, if you will. Now, okay, it's like you don't have to create a baseball business card. Hey, look, my idea, damn it. But basically, my point is all right. Let me go back to my presentation slides here. All right, bear with me for just a minute here. All right, so anyway, you should be back on my slides here. So going back to my presentation, exchange contact information, business cards, great thing. I think they're still relevant. Right now, virtually online. If you have LinkedIn, and if you're not on LinkedIn, I strongly suggest you get on it. Exchange LinkedIn addresses, exchange email addresses. Look for ways to continue the conversation. Again, be sensitive to the other person. You don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. If you sense that the other person's uncomfortable, back off. Make yourself likable and approachable. You're more likely to connect, and you're more likely to be remembered for all the right reasons. So, okay, that just review of what I spoke of before. But moving right along. All right, how are we doing? Any questions so far? All right, very cool cards. Yeah, if I was actually in person, I'd be more than willing to share these cards with you. Once we're past the pandemic and we start attending on actual in-person conferences again, I will bring plenty of cards with me. But if you go to, say, like Vista Print or your favorite printing shop, I mean, you can probably get a bunch of cards done cheaply. These were a little more expensive because they were your bifold cards, and they were especially designed. So these were a little more expensive, but you don't have to have expensive cards. Even if all you have is your name and contact information, that'll be fine too. Okay, so let's move along. Let's talk about online networking here. So you have all sorts of online resources. We talked about LinkedIn. I was talking to a friend once who was looking for a job, and she asked me questions, and she asked me for advice. And I said, how about your Facebook? And it surprised me to hear her say, I never considered going to Facebook for networking. If you have 100 Facebook friends, guess what? That's a network. You have 100 networking contacts right there. So by all means, but we'll talk about a few of these individually. The ones I bring up here are the ones I'm most familiar with. Earlier today, Gilda talked about LinkedIn. Gilda, I don't know if you're on here right now, but if you are, feel free to make yourself known. But LinkedIn, social network for professionals. I've seen job applications ask for LinkedIn addresses. That to me is a sign that employers take LinkedIn seriously. Example, one of the reasons why I think LinkedIn is important is, let's say you're a employer who is looking at two resumes from two equally qualified candidates. You want to learn more about them. One of them has a LinkedIn profile, the other one does not. guess who's going to have the advantage? So for that reason, if you don't have LinkedIn, I suggest you get on it. If you do have one, but it's a little light, please by all means build it up. Not going to get into it here. That could be an entire presentation in itself. As a matter of fact, I think it was this morning. Let's talk about Facebook. If you are on Facebook, keep in mind, like I said, if you have 100 Facebook friends, that's a network. You already have a network right there. Opportunities abound. The job that I had before this one, I actually got that job through a Facebook friend. He saw that I was looking. He said, hey, listen, I might have something for you. Let's talk. We started talking, and sure enough, he hired me. Now, not everybody's on Facebook. That's okay. You don't necessarily have to be on Facebook to network, but all I'm saying is that if you are on Facebook, take advantage of it. That's a networking opportunity right there. You have relationships. You're connecting with people. Twitter, I have a Twitter account, but I am not on it all that often. Really, the only reason I'm on Twitter is because it's the social media of choice for SQL Family, and I really joined it because of 2019. I got picked to speak at a past summit, and everybody else is on it, and all the information was going back and forth on Twitter. I said, you know what, I better create an account so I can keep tabs on what's going on. But once again, another resource to tag that you can use. Here's another one. Consider starting a blog. I actually have an entire presentation that I do about blogging, if you will pardon the plug there. But blogging, online style journaling, networking and communication is usually a two-way street. Now, people may not think that is, but it is, because most blogs have the ability to receive comments, and the ability to go back and forth comments is what makes it conversational. And nice thing about blogging, I won't get into this right now for time reasons, is it shares what you do and don't know. It's a great way to showcase yourself, or to say, hey, I'm looking for this, or I'm looking for information on that. By all means, use your blog. One of the best reasons I think to use a blog is to write a blog is not just to showcase what you do know, but also to show off what you don't know. What I mean by that is, let's say you're learning something new. It's like, hey, I don't know anything about BI, but I would love to learn about it. Here's how I'm learning about it, and here's what I'm learning as I go along. If you're looking for a job, employers love to see that. They love to see that you are looking to improve yourself, you are looking to advance yourself, and that's one way you can do it. Tell people that you're working on stuff, tell people what your accomplishments are and where you're going for. So don't consider not starting one just because you don't know anything, because the fact is you may know more than you think you do. Other ways to network online. Online forums. These are some of the ones I frequent. If you're on Stack Overflow, that's one way to network. SQLServerCentral.com. Steve Jones is a friend of mine. We go back and forth all the time. We're Facebook friends and on LinkedIn too, but we first connected on SQLServerCentral.com. I'm actually, there are all sorts of forums for talking about data topics, and there are all sorts of forums to talk about, other stuff that are not related to data. I play fantasy football. My fantasy football league is on SQL Server Central. There are others as well, TikTok, Instagram. I don't really talk about those because I'm not on them, so I don't know much about them. But if you're on them, more power to you. Take advantage of that. It's another resource to go check out. Consider joining online groups. If you're on Facebook, if you're on Twitter, LinkedIn, you will know that there are all sorts of groups that you can join online. Hook up with them. Those are ways to make more networking contacts. Good old-fashioned email lists. Get on a list, get information from an organization you're interested in. Basically, the bottom line is, okay, online networking, it's a different way to network, but the bottom line is it is still networking. The way you network online is different, but the principle behind it does not change. You are still networking. and there are a lot of other resources to check out. These are some other presentations I've seen at SQL Saturday. At other SQL Saturdays, I recommend every single one of them. Paresh Matiwala, who is actually a friend of mine, is doing a presentation later today about getting ready for and nailing your Azure interviews. The last time I saw his presentation, it didn't mention Azure, but it's a very good presentation. If you're looking for a job, I recommend it highly. And he's also a great resource to talk about networking as well. So if you happen to come across him, definitely track him down and strike up a conversation with him. Other resources, if you have a local user group you can get to, go to their meetings. If you don't have a local user group, consider starting one. Like I said, it's like I was one of 3 co-founders for the SQL group outside of Albany, New York. Like I said, I'm not primarily a SQL person, but I still contribute to the group. Lots of professional organizations interview, PASS, Data Saturday. I'm a member of STC, the Society for Technical Communication. If you're an engineer, maybe you heard of IEEE. All sorts of groups out there that you can go join. I mentioned online communities, Chamber of Commerce. Here's one that's probably underutilized. Your local library. It's free. It's open to everybody. They have all sorts of resources, not just books, but also announcements, maybe links to other groups. Basically, any activity in which you're involved or which you enjoy doing, that's a resource. That's an opportunity to go network. So it's 1:15 right now, so I pretty much need to wind this up. But real quick, if you want to improve your speaking skills, I'm a Dale Carnegie alum. Dale Carnegie is a great group to learn how to step out of your comfort zone and how to improve your skill sets, and how to advance yourself. Now, that does require money. When I took the course, my employer paid for it. Maybe you can find another resource that will help you out with that. Another one, which I'm not a member of, but I know people who are in it, and everybody who I've talked to recommend it highly, is look for a Toastmasters group. Toastmasters help you out with public speaking. So if you're not comfortable speaking, go check that group out, and they will help you out. So, okay, winding it all up, networking is about relationships. These days, it's very important to get connected with anybody. That's the way you move upwards and advance yourself these days. It's an art. It's an art as much as a science. It's probably not going to happen overnight, and it is going to take practice. Anytime you interact with anybody else, that's networking. And if you're good in networking socially, chances are that's going to help you professionally as well. And even if you're not good socially, again, practice. There's nothing wrong with practicing. Practicing is always a good thing. I think that's about time. Okay. I revamped these slides. I forgot I had more. If you're not comfortable in networking, you're not alone. There are definitely wrong ways to break the ice, so you don't want to drive people away. Get business cards and a LinkedIn account, online network, similar networking, blah, 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 blah. Okay. That's pretty much it I have here. Again, there's my blog if you want to connect with me. My LinkedIn, again, if you want to, I am okay with connecting on LinkedIn. The only thing I request is please include a message telling me who you are. If you tell me that you saw my presentation or you met me here at Data Geek Saturday, that is acceptable. I will accept your request. All I ask is just don't send me a cold call connect without any messages not telling me who you are. That will probably get deleted. So I will be hanging out later in the networking room. So again, you can practice your newly discovered networking skills. That's pretty much all I have for right now. Anybody have any questions, comments? Anybody hear any good jokes lately? Yes, please. Definitely. I'm always looking for ways to improve. So definitely send me some feedback. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your great comments. Again, networking room, go check it out. And there's some more great presentations today. I saw that Tracy Baggiano, who is also a friend of mine, is doing her mental health presentation. That is an excellent one to go check out. And again, if you are a job hunter, go check out Paresh's presentation on how to interview. Again, don't let the word Azure scare you off. Go check it out. So, thank you very much. That's all the time I have. Enjoy the rest of your Data Geek Saturday, and I'll talk to you guys later. Elvis, back to you.
All righty. Thank you very much.